Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of Power Pop Shakers. This is where I talk about Power Pop new releases and the odd reissue as well. If you go to my channel and click on playlists, you can listen to the tracks I'm talking about today, and you can also listen back on tracks from previous episodes as well. Okay, first up it's Super Crush and a 12-inch vinyl EP called Melody Maker, and it's also available on CD and cassette, and it's been issued by various labels around the world. Det Offensive in Canada, Flake in Japan, and in Europe it's on Erster Thecker Tonträger. Following on from the Seattle band's 2020 album Soda Pop, here are 5 more infectious guitar pop gems that were also recorded at the Soda Pop sessions. You can listen to the whole of the EP on the Power Pop Shakers playlist. If you're missing the effortless songwriting of Evan Dando from the Lemonheads circa It's a Shame About Ray, there's a lot to enjoy here. Next up, it's a 2 CD reissue of the Muffs' Really Really Happy album, which came out in I think about 2005. This is the first project that bassist Ronnie Barnett and drummer Roy McDonald have worked on since the passing of the inspirational and just totally wonderful Kim Shattuck. It's a reissue of their 5th album, and it adds 22 bonus tracks no less, including 18 home recorded demos by Kim Shattuck. The video for the title track, which highlights Kim's sense of humour, is an absolute joy, and it's on the Power Pop Shakers playlist along with a short promo for this reissued album. Next up, it's Guided by Voices and Tremblers and Goggles by Rank. This album's due out on the 1st of July on Robert Pollard's own label that is set up, Rockathon. This will be their 2nd album of 2022. Alex Bell, which you can listen to on the playlist, is undoubtedly a highlight. I don't think this is actually a tribute to Alex Chilton and Chris Bell, but it certainly shares a lot of qualities that Big Star had. So you've got strong vocals. In fact, I don't think Robert Pollard's vocals have ever been better. There's an underlying vulnerability, effortless tunesmithery, and also an unshakable belief in the magic of the electric guitar. Next, it's Kiwi Jr. and they have an album Chopper, which is due out on the 12th of August 2022 on the Sub Pop label. Based on the video for Night Vision, which is on the playlist, Kiwi Jr. are moving rapidly towards the mainstream for their 3rd album. Their sound here is quite similar, I think, to the Strokes and the Killers at their most 80s fixated. Personally, I think there's too many synthesizers on this recording, and hopefully some of the more guitar-based quirkiness from the first 2 albums will still be on this latest album. Next up, it's Dungeon of Skeletons and Doom and Gloom, which is available as a digital single. There are sweet dual male-female vocals and intricate harmonies here. It's a bit like a roughed up Carpenters, and I think this makes this quite special in 2022. After 4 digital releases, they're building up nicely towards what should be a killer debut album. They come from a small town near Nashville, and they're generating quite a bit of interest in America, with people like Rodney Bingenheimer playing it, this track on his show in America. Right, next it's the Boys with Perpetual Nervousness and the 3rd Wave of, which is a vinyl LP on Bobo Integral, and it's due on the 9th of September. I've uploaded the tracks Look Back and Turning Red to the Power Pop Shakers playlist. Gonzalo Marcos and Andrew Taylor are back here with their 3rd album, and jangling Bird's guitars are very much intact. And guest musicians include Mary Lou Lord on one of the tracks on the album. Next, it's Brett McKenzie and an album called Songs Without Jokes, which will be out on vinyl and CD very shortly on the Sub Pop label. And Brett McKenzie was one half of the New Zealand comedy duo Flight to the Conchords, and in more recent years he's worked as a songwriter on the Muppets movies. The title of this album, Songs Without Jokes, is because he's decided to release some of his more serious songs rather than comedy music. I've uploaded a little tune to the Power Pop Shakers playlist, and this reeks of influences from great American songwriters from the 60s and 70s like Harry Nilsson, Randy Newman, Paul Williams. All of those songwriters were very much in touch with the great American songbook tradition, and Brett McKenzie is certainly in the same league. Next up, it's a reissue of the Monochrome set's Volume, Contrast, Brilliance Volume 1 on vinyl on the Optic Nerve label, led by songwriter Bid. They're still going strong today, and they started off as part of the late 70s post-punk scene. This album originally came out in the mid-80s and brought together their early singles for Rough Trade, as well as some live sessions recorded for the BBC and Capital Radio. He's Frank is a Velvet Underground indebted guitar racket, and is a highlight and is on the Power Pop Shakers playlist. Next up, we've got Cheap Star and Wish I Could See, which has been released in America on CD on the Cool Cat label. They're a Swiss-based guitar pop band, and they have occasional Americana type leanings. And they also have some incredibly famous friends in high places who all contribute to this album. So you get John Auer from the Posies, Brendan Benson, Gary Loris from the Jayhawks, and Roger Joseph Manning, who was in Jellyfish. And moving on, we come to Gentlemen Rogues, and they have a 7-inch single on the Snappy Little Numbers label, which couples Francie with I've Got a Match. They come from Austin, Texas. They remind me, based on the track Francie, which is on the playlist, of Sugar. It's a full-on guitar pop sound, very sort of 90s sounding. The B-side, I've Got a Match, is They Might Be Giants cover. Next, it's Neutrals and Bus Stop Nights, which is a 7-inch EP that's been put up by Static Shock. A bit like Mick Trouble, who I've mentioned in previous episodes, Neutrals look to the television personalities and early UK indie pop bands for inspiration. The band comes from Oakland, California, but I assume the lead singer comes originally from Scotland because he has a quite distinct Scottish accent. Gary Borthwick Says is the highlight of the EP, and it's on the Power Pop Shakers playlist. That track reminds me lyrically of the Undertones' My Perfect Cousin. I'm sure that it could all get quite irritating after a while, but for now it's quite an exhilarating listen. Next we have the STAYAWAKES and an LP and CD called Pop Dreamz, which was put out by the Engineer label. They're a Portsmouth-based power pop quartet. The track Power Pop Massacre, which reminds me a bit of Material Issues International Pop Overthrow, is a highlight from the album, and it's on the playlist. In the video they dress like the Barracudas circa Summer Fun in 1980. They also played at the International Pop Overthrow Festival just last month in Liverpool. And moving on, we've got Pat Todd and the Rank Outsiders. This is another 7-inch single which couples Tell Us All a Story and Prison of Love. And it's put out by the 194 Recordings label. And it's a standalone single following on from their 2021 album, There's Pretty Things in Palookaville. Pat Todd was the longtime vocalist in the band Lazy Cowgirls. They're channeling, I think, on this record and certainly on the album from last year, the intensity of early Roy Loney and the Phantom Movers and the bar band sound of the late 70s NRBQ. It's an absolutely wonderful single, and I've put both sides on the playlist. And moving on, we come to Dime Store Dolls, and they have an album due in July 2022 called Woolly Mamas. The digital single You Are the Fix is on the Power Pop Shakers playlist. Kelly Buchanan's vocals remind me very much of Letters to Cleo. She co-wrote this song with Adam Schlesinger, and in a real coup, the surviving members of the Fountains of Wayne all contribute to a performance of this track. It's a masterclass in songwriting and pop production. I love the Beach Boys style harmonies at the start of this. And if you read Kelly's backstory on Dime Store Doll's website, I think you'll admire this performance even more, as she's been through a lot in recent years. She's a real talent, and you really must hear this track. Moving on, we've got The Real Distractions and a 7-inch EP put out by K Records and Perennial called Stupid. It's a debut single by this Olympia, Washington-based band, and it's riot girl guitar pop, which includes some Olympia luminaries, including Toby Vale, who was the drummer, of course, in Bikini Kill. Festa Sesta is on the playlist. And the Milkshakes have a 4-CD box set called Milk Box out on the Damaged Goods label. And this was Billy Childish's garage band from the early 80s. If you imagine the Beatles at the Star Club, you'll be quite close to their sound. 4 of their 9 albums are here. No extra tracks are included, I'm afraid, but it's a useful budget-priced introduction to their sound. At times, the slapdash approach can verge on being unlistenable, but at their best, they sound like Joe Meek discoveries from 1963. Let Me Love You is on the playlist as a taster of what to expect if you decide to go out and buy this box set. Okay, and that's it for today. There's loads more Power Pop releases coming out at the moment, and I'll be adding to the playlist over the next couple of weeks or so, and then I will do another episode. So until then, take care, everyone.